Garfield's Halloween Adventure is a perfect Halloween special.
This is a night.
This is the night.
I didn't grow up with Garfield's Halloween Adventure. Unlike things like It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown, it didn't get rerun on TV or played in classrooms during my childhood. The praises of the special have been sung various times, sometimes as a hidden gem, but other times as a guilty pleasure. It's certainly one of the humbler pieces of Halloween media, not especially scary or especially funny, and with animation that has its faults under a TV budget. There's something very peanutsy about the special, for lack of a better word, and this isn't much of a coincidence. It premiered alongside a rerun of It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown, and the two specials would air alongside one another for many years to follow. Its music was partly composed by Edgar Bogus, who composed for some of the Peanut specials and movies, and it was directed by Phil Roman, who co-directed projects like A Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. Garfield's Halloween Adventure also passingly brushed shoulders with Lee Mendelsohn, who you might remember as the producer of A Charlie Brown Christmas. This is likely the reason the special receives many of the same praises as A Charlie Brown Christmas, that it's charming in spite of its flaws, or that there's a warmth about it that's impossible to properly place. Not that the special is held in quite the same regard, though. It's not as well remembered, and as mentioned before, it receives the backhanded compliment of guilty pleasure, while A Charlie Brown Christmas receives the straightforward acclaim of a holiday classic. Despite this, I find it to be a perfect Halloween special, or at least one that is good for an almost unique reason, because it conveys the side of Halloween many specials don't. The negative space.
Hello, Halloween.
Where many Halloween specials open on the night of Halloween, often right in the midst of trick-or-treating in full swing, Garfield's Halloween Adventure interestingly opens right at the crack of dawn. Garfield is reminded by the TV that it's Halloween and breaks out into song about his excitement, and yet it isn't theremin or haunting organ keys that play, but upbeat jazz, not all too dissimilar from the other Garfield specials from the time. It takes over 3 minutes for so much as a jack-o'-lantern to appear, and even then it remains your average Garfield affair for over 9 minutes of the special. Garfield walks around the house having witty interactions with John and poking fun at Odie, but nothing scary or aesthetically Halloweeny occurs during this time. In spite of this, Halloween is very much present, not as an aesthetic or tone, but as an imminent event.
Look at all this great stuff, Odie. With these costumes, we can be anything we want. What should I be?
Garfield expresses his excitement for the holiday, and even though he only lists candy as his motivation, his overwhelming and infectious enthusiasm for picking out a costume betrays that the creativity and self-expression are the real draw. He talks about it, he plans, he converses with John, who in this case fills the role of parent, before he leaves. The excitement and anticipation builds and builds until Garfield and Odie finally hit the streets, leading to an oddly faithful trick-or-treating sequence. At first, the streets are alive with other kids. There's an excitement in the air and a sense of camaraderie with these other kids out on the same mission, but also a hint of fear. Nothing nearly scary enough to dissuade Garfield or any child from their goal, but just enough to excite and intrigue. Despite this minute or so of excitement, we quickly fall into a brief musical montage of them collecting candy to smooth jazz, giving more of the vibe of a fond flashback than something currently going on. This captures the odd, zen-like and familiar quality of trick-or-treating, where the excitement gives way to the relaxation of any other hangout with a friend. I feel like the collapse of that excitement and fall into sentimentality and warmth is such a specific piece of the Halloween puzzle we sometimes forget to meditate on. Of course, the special is more than mundane sentimentality. Garfield and Odie decide to cross the river to another neighborhood to try and collect even more candy, which is relatable in its own way, because I feel like most of us have at least considered going one street further or one house more or 1 hour longer than we ought to. As a kid, I liked to imagine that if I stayed out too long or traveled too far, I might encounter something scary, which is an odd thing to like imagining. But that's the paradox of Halloween in general. We fancy supernatural peril to an extent. Of course, this special validates that fancy, as when Garfield and Odie attempt to cross the river, they get washed away instead, and are thrust into a delightfully cliché scenario.
Hey, nice touch.
A creepy mansion illuminated by lightning, with a creepy old man who tells them a ghost story by the fire, only for the story to come true as they get chased by ghost pirates, animated in a captivating white glow. Garfield and Odie escape their supernatural encounter, but the story doesn't end there, but rather back at home, a place that all children know is impenetrable to monsters so long as there is light and family. Despite our supernatural detour, we return right back to where we started, the world of the mundane, with Garfield and Odie chatting like always. And true to many Halloween experiences, Garfield finds himself too excited by the night's adventures and tries to whittle away the hours with TV, only to go to sleep sooner than he expected.
Good evening, and welcome to our all-night pirate movie festival.
Boy, am I tired.
Like many holidays popular in the West, Halloween revolves around an event. Christmas has its morning gift exchange, the 4th of July has the night of fireworks, and Halloween has its trick-or-treating. Something I feel like we don't often meditate on about these holiday events is the surreal feeling leading up to and following after these events. The odd feeling of decompression when you return to your bedroom after the Christmas gift exchange. The moment you tell your friend you're ready to ditch the fireworks display to grab some grub somewhere else. The satisfaction mixed with fatigue following a successful night of trick-or-treating. These are things that mean almost as much to me as the event itself. Something I've noted throughout my life when it comes to big events, whether it be that one piano recital I did, or the homecomings I went to, or trick-or-treating, or any other event that happens at night, is the unavoidable normality leading up to it. You just feel like something is supposed to be drastically different. That there's no way you should be going to school or to work or having a completely normal breakfast, and yet it's almost always the case, and you're left to plan and discuss and stew in your anticipation as you go about breakfast and the other mundanities of life. And preceding these big events, you're left to decompress, accepting that you're returning to the mundane, not defeated, but rather renewed in some way. Garfield's Halloween adventure is interesting because they aren't in a big rush to get to the Halloween part. They're happy to stew in the Garfield part. They're happy to do their usual Garfield bits with their usual Garfield pacing and their usual Garfield vibes, almost as though Halloween is a guest in Garfield's world that he's simply preparing to greet. This approach really stands out when you compare it to other specials like SpongeBob's Scaredy Pants, that opens immediately on a foreboding atmosphere, letting you know that something is different, that Halloween is here. When you think about it, Garfield's approach is the most accurate portrayal, as holidays are these things that come and go, like a guest in our everyday lives. The negative space, as I called it, that they address in this special allows them to welcome Halloween and then bid it farewell.
Hello, Halloween. What a night. Boy, am I wired. I think I'll see what's on TV.
The acknowledgement of ordinary life on either side of the holiday isn't a weakness of the special. It's a strength that lends itself to that intangible warmth that it's been praised for. Some of you may know that I lost my home this year, and that I'm living out of an apartment now, and the thing I'm going to miss most about it all is giving out candy. I'm going to miss being known as the Hot Chocolate House. I'm going to miss handing out job application forms for the Ghostbusters to amuse children, or lending them my proton pack to fire at a target I made out of poster board. I'm going to miss telling scary stories to children and adults alike, and I'm going to miss having specials like Garfield's Halloween Adventure playing off to the side of my hot chocolate stand. Just a few years ago, one of the kids who came to my house stared slack-jawed at Garfield's Halloween Adventure while his mother led him away by the wrist, and both me and her laughed about it. One thing I remember most fondly of all about Halloween, though, is closing up shop. I pack up my table, sheepishly declare good night to the neighborhood, soak the empty hot chocolate pot for the night, and then me and my brother would sit in the garage or around the dining table for a while. He'd ask me how it went, and we'd talk about things, and we'd watch funny Halloween videos, and talk about how in the morning we'll walk around and pick up discarded cups and candy wrappers. One night out of the year, we're encouraged to be just that much more creative, just that much more adventurous, and just that much more connected to our communities. And even when the night is done, we get to carry a piece of that with us into our mundane lives for a while. Halloween is felt in its absence as well as its presence, and its nature as a momentary guest in our mundane lives is one we should cherish instead of mourn, and understanding this, whether consciously or not, is the reason Garfield's Halloween Adventure is a perfect Halloween special. Halloween isn't over for me. This year I'm going to relax with a nice book and talk to my brother about old memories and celebrate in my own ways. So, if you celebrate Halloween tonight, I hope you stay safe, have fun, and don't forget to relax afterwards.
"60 men all lost at sea, all of them drunk except for me. 'Twas I who had to face the storm with nothing in sight to keep me warm. Yo ho ho ho, over the raging sea we go. Yo ho ho ho, wherever the four winds blow. Hey!